sky turned black, the stars fell down. United we stand, but we're losing ground. One world beneath the iron fist, voices silenced, they cease to resist. Echoes of hope in the darkening night, fading whispers of a long lost life. Rise up, hear the call to arms. In this storm of chaos we'll find our charms. Together we'll fight through the ashes and dust, a phoenix reborn in our hearts' purest trust. The sirens wail through the desolate towns, once proud nations painted in the scars of the crown. A single army marching on our dreams, unity forged in despair, or so it seems. Nothing left but shadows drifting away as the last embers of freedom decay. Rise up, hear the call to arms. In this storm of chaos we'll find our charms. Together we'll fight through the ashes and dust, a phoenix reborn in our hearts' purest trust. One global army, together we stand. In the fall of the world, we'll make our last stand.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me. We've the reason I play that song is because I want you all to listen to the words of it. Okay, the words mean a lot. Okay, the words to that song, especially the last sentence in it where it says, "In the fall of the world, we make our last stand." And unfortunately, I think we are there. I think we are literally there. We're at that point in time. And I'll explain that a little bit tonight. This is only going to be probably about an hour or so in duration. So, just sit back, relax a little bit, grab a cup of coffee or a drink and join the conversations. I might even put the link in the chat, Roxanne and Urso, so and anybody else that's out there. If they want to join in the conversation firsthand by coming on live, that'll be fine too. There's just some things that have been really, really affecting me lately. And I need to bring it out in the open to everybody. And it has to do with, well, the way I worded it last time was outcasts who see too much. Literally, I posted all the time. I posted all the time. And I got my new background going on because I'm going to be talking about these guys right here, whom we all know. And some of us have been affected by them on numerous occasions. So we're going to get into that whole subject and a little bit more here. But I named this history because I want to make it clear that history has been completely dismantled in our generation. Okay. The generation leading up to World War II and the ones that participated in World War II, most of your grandparents, but my parents, my dad was in World War II. We all know that. I've got the paperwork to prove it. But it seems like after that generation, a lot has changed, almost to the point where they have been manipulating everything that we did growing up to teach us and indoctrinate us in a certain way. The education system, public schools and stuff, private schools, they all had the same agenda, including the universities and colleges. They all have the same agenda. You have your normal universities, then you have your dark universities of this world, which are the ones that promote the secret societies, which promotes the cabal that actually controls things on the humanity level. Okay. Here's the humanity level. Okay. The controller's up here, up top. That's where the control is. Humanity has nothing to do with it except they do the bidding for the controllers. Okay. So, history. Excuse me. History has definitely been changed. There have been too many secrets held throughout my lifetime and throughout the lifetime of humanity. Things that happened that have been hidden that we can't see and that you probably don't want to see on a regular basis. Okay. These beings that are behind us and right here in this picture, they are the most malevolent, despicable, how do I want to say it, parts of this reality that we live in on a daily basis. I call them this. And I'll tell you why I call them this, okay? Archons throughout religious history, including the Book of Enoch and the Book of John and other books, and even some of the tablets out there, the Copper Scrolls and the Emerald Tablet and the Sumerian tablets, depict a certain race of beings that are kind of like demigods, okay, to humanity. I liken them unto an archon. An archon is not a ruling class of a being, but a class of being that does the bidding for certain superior families of aliens, okay, of alien bloodline. Okay, I've talked about the bloodline numerous times on this channel. Now, this whole thing has been, it's infiltrated our governments around the world. The UN, forget about it. The UN does nothing to benefit humanity. Okay. the World Health Organization and the WEF, the World Economic Foundation, doesn't do anything to help humanity. Okay. The 3-letter and 4-letter agencies out there basically are doing the bidding for these beings. Okay. Now, some of these beings, they could be considered fallen angels. Okay. But I liken them unto the archons because I think they're more of a demonic type of a representation of their class of being. Not them specifically, but their class of a being is demonic. Okay. They do the bidding of their masters. Who are their masters, you say? Good question. Throughout history, we can tell many times history has been changed. See, this world, you weren't born into this system of a cage. Okay. You weren't born into this system of a simulation that's currently going on. Okay. Everyone has seen it. Everyone has felt it. Things have shifted. Okay. And shifted so much to a point that you are experiencing supernatural situations practically every moment of the day. Whether you see it in your peripheral vision all the time, whether you hear it, whether you see it in the sky one moment and it's gone the next, these are all blendings of what has been called dimensions. Okay. But they're actually realms. Okay. They're realms that are on top of each other that have been blended together because of a certain group with 4 letters, starting with the letter C, that is in a foreign country that I can't name right now because I'll be shut down. They have done things to manipulate our world. And these 3-letter and 4-letter agencies have been backing them up all the way, including governments. Okay. We call them shadow governments for a reason. You see that even the Vatican has a certain hierarchy. Okay. The white Pope is not the Pope in charge. Okay. Now I'm probably going to tick off a few Catholics out there, but trust me on this. Okay. Do your research, investigate it, and you'll find out. You will find out. Okay. There is a white Pope and a gray Pope. Okay. Above the white Pope and the gray Pope is the black Pope, who is ruled and controlled by Baal. I'm just putting it out there. Okay. So that should give you some idea of what our history is based on. You see, the fall of the Roman Empire never happened. It never happened. The Roman Empire just went 0 dark 30. They went completely dark and underground. They formed the one world religion a long time ago. Constantine removed so much out of the original Bible and twisted things and replaced certain wording and stuff in the Bible that about 10% of the Bible is completely fabricated by Constantine. There is a period in history when he directly renounced paganism, and the fall of the Roman Empire and the Vatican was built and formed from that, claiming to be Christian. And that's how the Vatican was formed with Constantine. But throughout history, you can see that there has been always a dark side of the Vatican. take World War II, for instance, okay? A war that my father fought proudly in, okay? And came back, bullet holes and shrapnel holes all throughout his body, okay? But at least he came back. A lot of people didn't. Same with any war. The Vatican never stood ground against the German occupations, okay, the German and Nazi influence around the world. They never once spoke up to protest against it. In fact, what they did is they filtered their money through the Vatican Bank, and they filtered the gold that they stole from all the people that they conquered, okay, through the Vatican Bank, okay, and they locked the others in areas that were found later on. And we're not just talking gold jewelry and stuff. We're talking literally tons of gold fillings that were pulled from the corpses of a lot of the Jews that were unalived. Okay. Gold fillings. So almost reminds me of a lot of the older things with the Sumerian text and the Anunnaki, with one in particular Anunnaki, and that is Enlil. Okay. Enlil being the older brother of Enki. Enki being the representation of, we all know, the reptilian part of the bloodline, the evil part of the bloodline, the how do I want to say it, the Luciferian bloodline. Okay, whereas Enlil is the jealous god and will have no other gods before him. Sacrifices, excuse me, fishes. Sacrifices were made to Enlil, and offerings of gold and lapis were very, very frequently offered to him as payment for being the god. Okay. Now, the lesser Anunnakis have been called different things. Those are the ones that I consider the Archon class. Okay, those are the ones that literally would do the bidding of the higher class of Anunnaki. Okay, so in other words, are these guys the lesser Anunnaki? Makes you wonder. Here's one more thing I want you to consider too. Okay, and obviously I'm probably going to have limited time on this because I got a funny feeling that I'm going to be shut down. But as I was planning this earlier today, I was sitting on the couch and I was reflecting and thinking about what I was going to say tonight. And I was going through it over my head, on how to present things. And next thing I know, we got hit with the most violent storm I think I've ever seen living here. Only lasted about a half an hour. Lightning actually struck the metal roof of our screen porch. And lightning was all around us. And it came out of nowhere. And as soon as like not even 10 minutes before the storm hit, I told Tracy, I said, I'm not feeling too good. I'm feeling like really oppressed and really like something is happening. And Next thing I know, next 10 minutes is when the storm hit. It wasn't predicted. It was predicted other parts, like more north of us, but it wasn't predicted where we live. It came out of nowhere, literally. And it's obvious to me that the feeling I got at the time during the storm, in fact, I even looked up to the heavens and I even said, really? Really? You're going to do this? Every time I try to talk about something, to disclose something, something odd happens. Either they mess with my electronics, or they mess with my physicality, or they mess with weather or some other way to influence me. Whether it's an attempt to try and scare me, which we all know I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not. I could care less. I'm not afraid of anything. But, and that's not being Billy Badass, by the way. That's just being truthful. Okay. I don't, I lost that ability within me to basically fear anything. Yeah, Marcy, I did get targeted. Good to see you in there. Good to see you, Freaky and Griff. I'm sorry, I wasn't monitoring the chat there for a while, but you know, I've talked about the weather manipulation and all that, and weather weaponization time and time again. I never, in my wildest dreams, thought that it would affect me personally, and it did. And it kind of just proved to me that I've been hitting a lot of nerves with what I've been talking about. The one thing that I promised myself I would continue to do is let Bounty, good to see you, Joanne, good to see you, is let you all know through this what I've been experiencing, what I've been seeing, what I've been hearing, what I've been feeling about the shift. And it is a shift. It's a shift that we've gone through. Whether CERN is a direct result for causing that, or whether it was a combination of a few things. Okay. I want you to think about this too. The so-called UFOs, okay, or UAPs, whatever you want to call them, okay. How do I want to say this? That technology has been around for a long time now. It was around back in the early 80s when I was in the military, okay. I actually did a stint at Area 51 on my, from going from C school to my regular assigned station, duty station. I spent about a week in Nevada, and just, helping out the military wherever I could, more or less basically drivers and stuff like that, and training security at the installation. And I've seen some things. I've heard some things. I've felt some things there. And the one thing I can say, without a doubt, is a lot of the tech, it may be alien, but it's not aliens using it. Let me put this out there to everybody, okay? And I know this is a little off base, but I need to tell you all that the military-industrial complex, okay, is not your friend. They're out to make bundles and bundles of cash off of you, okay? And sacrificing human lives And possibly, I do believe that there is some organ harvesting within that I can't prove. Okay, but I do believe there is organ harvesting within that. Um, anyways, these guys here, the so-called gray aliens, you know how a lot of people describe them as being like lesser, kind of like worker bees or worker ants. That's what they are. Okay, that's what an archon is. Okay, they are the lesser beings that basically do the bidding for the more superior beings. Okay, and Bigfoot dwarf, good to see you in here, man. Yeah, Marcy, we are cattle to them. Um, we are definitely cattle to them. How do I want to say this? The crafts that you're seeing, the crafts that you're seeing are being controlled through a neurological link. You see, for the longest time, they tried year after year to figure out the firing mechanism to get these crafts off the ground. They couldn't do it. They couldn't figure it out. They brought in scientists and stuff, had them do the NDA, the disclosure agreements, they couldn't figure it out. Finally, somebody came in and said, you know what? It's not a functional mechanical system or some kind of a device that you basically just turn a key on or flip a switch and it turns on. The seats within this craft were hardwired. I want you to picture the crafts with kind of like the neurological system of our brain. All the little fibrous, lines feeding to and from the nervous system and stuff. That is what's in the craft. Those crafts, the ones that they tried to get to work right away, that wouldn't work, were biological. They were alive. But as any symbiotic host will be, you need to have the host. You see, these guys were the host. Okay? That's why you saw them more often than you saw the taller ones. Okay? You always saw the small ones until you got on board the craft, and then you would see the bigger ones that were telling the little ones what to do. Okay? Think about this. You wonder where people are going missing, especially people going missing, and I hope David Pilates is listening, especially people going missing in national parks. Okay, Jay, good to see you. I made the connection the other day going through my research and just trying to figure out just where the hell are all these people going to? Well, I think I figured out part of it, the equation. And it has to do with these guys. And it has to do with the craft. Let me see if I have a picture of it here. I probably don't. No, that's right. StreamYard only gives you so many things to upload. Yeah, I don't have a picture of it. But it has to do with those guys, okay? The grays. And it has to do with humans. Because without them, there's no host biological neurological link to function and operate these crafts, these UAPs, UFOs, whatever you want to call them. Okay, even the orbs. Okay, some of the orbs are supernatural, by the way. Okay, a lot of them, some of them are completely biological. In other words, they're living objects that look like plasma balls. Okay, so that being said, and then you have the ones that are neurologically linked to a host. Okay, well, the whole thing throughout history, I started thinking about all the missing people throughout history and about our military industrial complex and about how the whole thing played together on the timeline. Okay. Timeline, you can't go by a timeline. They have changed history in the past because they knew what they were going to do today. Okay. They expected it. All right. So, where do these people go? I think our own shadow military is abducting them, our own military industrial complex. I know some of them could be grizzly bear attacks, could be wolves, could be mountain lion, could be Bigfoot, could be walking through a portal. Yes, a certain percentage could be that. But I'm talking the majority of them. I'm talking the majority of them are being abducted by our own race. Why, you say? Well, all those studies and stuff that people have been told to do time and time again, taking the the jab, and other things. Go to your doctor on a regular basis. How about this one? No, have your DNA tested. Find out where your bloodline comes from. Why? We don't need to figure out where a bloodline comes from. Be grateful you have a bloodline. I mean, you should have been told something by your parents. If you weren't, then I'm sorry, but there's other ways of finding out where your bloodline comes from, like the Mormon Church. They're a big one. Okay. What are they looking for? Think about all the billions and billions of people around the world that have had their blood DNA testing done. Swabbed their mouth, mailed it in, 23andMe, you name it, Ancestry.com. There's so many of them out there. In fact, there was some big to-do about 23andMe just recently, too, about fraudulently doing things. Now, yes, they can, OKJ. Yes, they can. Exactly. They can definitely be tainted. But here's the reason I think, hey, Bolt Gun, good to see you. Don, good to see you. The one connection I made with all the missing people is that they need the shadow government, the shadow military, whatever you want to call them, military industrial complex, whoever is in charge of these programs with these UAPs or UFOs and alien technology needs a biological host to operate those crafts through Neuralink. Think about it. What better way to harvest alien hybrids that have the mental capability and capacity to neurologically link with a living sentient craft, okay? Something that is biological and not mechanical in operation. And that's what they've been doing this whole time. They have been building up their program. Why do you think they have DARPA and NASA and even the Smithsonian helping out? Why do you think they're scrambling to find the bloodlines and stuff of certain individuals throughout the past that were Anunnaki to basically trace lineage back to where they possibly could find the perfect human specimen that has just the right amount of Anunnaki DNA within them, and then take and use them in a hybridized program. Now, like I said, I'm not saying all the missing people are from that, but a good 70% of them, I would say, off the top of my head, are being used for the hybridization program to have hybrids, alien human hybrids, to basically operate these craft. Some of these crafts aren't even really like, how do I want to say this? Some of these crafts are interdimensional. Some of these crafts can go through, whatever you believe that the sky is, whether it's a firmament or not, into space, and into other planets. They can travel that way. Some of these craft are time traveling devices. A lot of the old structures that you see nowadays, you see, Tesla hit the nail on the head. Tesla knew that with all this ambient energy around us and coming from the earth and all around us, that how you could harness it, they knew that they could use that technology. That's why Nikola Tesla was found unalived. Who was the first person with the FBI that showed up there? I'm going to blow some people's minds. It was Donald Trump's uncle, who was the head FBI agent in New York City at the time, that showed up there first. Okay. Yeah, Griff, he was railroaded. You're right. Marty, good to see you. The question of where they come from, Marty, is one that a lot of people seem to think that extraterrestrial means they come from outer space. I'm not that way. I don't think that way. From what I've learned and what I've personally experienced over my time, is that it's usually human portraying as extraterrestrial, or it's interdimensional, or it's even terrestrial life that we don't know lives right under our feet or in our oceans. If you think about all of the USOs that are seen, I'm sure Bigfoot Dwarf can tell you guys, being on the west coast, all the reports of USOs that they're spotted there. Catalina Island's a big one. Big one. If you actually follow the stress fracture lines of earthquakes and stuff, you'll see between that and the volcanoes, the underwater volcanoes, that those locations tend to have a lot more UFO sightings than, say, out in the middle of the ocean somewhere where there's nothing. It's all connected. That's why I say question everything all the time to you guys. But what they're doing with some of the missing humans and using them to genetically alter or make a hybrid, human alien hybrid, to operate these biological crafts has been an ongoing thing since, well, since the 60s. I just, there's so much else that really is hidden from you guys. I heard something. Hold on. I'm going to get a drink of coffee, guys. Give me a second. I'm trying to put together a podcast and getting as much information on the RH negative bloodline. Hey, Woo, good to see you. And the more I look into it, the more the more you look into the RH negative bloodline, the more confusing it gets. And they do that for a purpose. They really do. They do it. Hey, Daryl, good to see you. They do it for keeping us off balance on knowing exactly what the RH negative bloodline is for. Whether it is a representation of some kind of viable bloodline to be used for human alien hybridization programs to operate these crafts, it very well could be. Okay. And like I said earlier, obviously, planned on discussing what our history was, today, but as I started, I became more of a sensitive subject. And as I thought about it, the powers of this world, which I still believe are from my research and the bloodlines that are behind me, I still believe that it is the same deities over and over again. Their bloodlines, the Rothschilds. Here's one for you. Epstein Island. Okay, we all know Epstein Island, right? Okay. Did you know that in the Antarctic, there's a little island called Rothschild's Island? How many of you knew that? Think about it. There are certain families, there are at least 100 families that are involved worldwide, bloodline wise. And then you have the ones that are in charge, whether you call them Anunnaki or whether you call them the fallen, whatever you want to call them, okay? They're literally the one in charge. Oh, good, Michelle, you did hear about that. Okay. Yeah, the Island Boys. The Rothschild's Island is a very unique place. Its location is hard to find, almost like it was hidden on purpose. And I'm probably getting myself in deeper and deeper by talking about it, but it needs to be brought out. Okay. And by the way, anybody, if you can help out the channel by liking it and sharing it and all that, that would be great. Make sure that the bell icon is hit and subscribe because they've been unsubscribing people again. Yeah, the Rothschilds, Rue Ryder. I'm sure you're well aware. The Rothschild bloodline is that of the reptilian, the Ra bloodline, as in Ra child. Okay, as in Ra as far as Egyptian. Okay, old Egyptian. I'm not talking the humans that are walking around currently in Egypt. Okay, believe it or not, they're not. I mean, they're Egyptian, but they're not the old biblical Egyptian. Okay, those were the Ra bloodline, which was the Marduk, which is the son of Enki. Okay, who we all know is the reptilian, Luciferian type of a bloodline. Okay, that's how that all ties in together. And that's why I say I've got to be careful on what I say. NASA, the CIA, I don't believe the FBI, but I do believe there are some higher echelon people, people that are entrenched in there that could be part of the problem. Um, we've all watched the news or reports or whatnot, whether it's on the internet or whether it's on regular TV. Um, but at the same time, the Smithsonian and all that. You see, what I call NASA and the CIA and even the military industrial complex and even like I said, the Smithsonian, I consider them the gatekeepers. They're the gatekeepers of this world. Okay, they're the ones that control a lot of the ins and outs of what's divulged within society as a whole that we live in. Doesn't take you very long to figure out that about half of humanity is soulless, especially nowadays, with as much supernatural elements that have been going on. Yeah, freaky. There are many gatekeepers, but these are just these are just the ones that I'm mentioning, okay? Because if I get into the whole thing, I won't be here in the morning. Let's put it that way, man. I wish I could delve deeper into it and disclose it to everybody. But what I've found out and what I've researched and what I've experienced, it goes a lot deeper than the Smithsonian, NASA, and the CIA and all that. Okay, it goes a lot deeper than the UN. It goes a lot deeper than the Bilderberg Foundation. It goes a lot deeper than NASA. NASA is a big. We won't even go there. Um, they have been exposed time and time again for frauding the public. And now you have another one who, by the way, just happens to invent the Neuralink. Hmm. What do you think the Neuralink could have to do with UFOs? Maybe, maybe it goes a lot deeper than medical purposes. Maybe it goes a lot deeper into the point to where it operates the human alien hybrid hypothesis or theory, whatever you want to call it, in having a biological Neuralink network to operate these biological craft, because that's what they are. And it's been going on a very, very long time. We choose, a certain percentage of humanity chooses to believe what the news dictates to them, and what governments say about certain situations that occur throughout our daily lives. But I know firsthand what happened in Somalia in the 80s. I know firsthand what happened at Area 51 in the 80s. I know I know a lot more than what I've spoken of. And for the way things have been manipulated for humanity as a whole, like that storm today, bizarre. That storm today was so violent, and Tracy can tell you in the chat, that storm today was so violent that it almost had a supernatural element about it. The lightning strikes were precise. The amount of rain that fell in a short period of time, flooding rain, was precise. Things are being done. First off, things are being done. Tanya, good to see you. Things are being done to cover things up. And you have to ask yourself, why are they covering things up? Well, they're doing it because if it becomes full disclosure, like these these freaking mock, ridiculously stupid disclosure hearings that Washington puts on for the public, are just smoke and mirrors, is all it is. Because you can't root out, you cannot root out the ones that are involved, because they're so deeply seated into everything. And I'm not talking, um, just the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers of the world, or the CEOs of BlackRock and other major corporations like Grumman, Boeing. They're all involved into it. Um, they're so seated deeply into it that there's no way to remove them. The only way to remove them is to crash society as a whole and then go after them. And I kind of think that's what's going on right now. Society is being twisted and manipulated and warped to the point where, especially with the incorporation of AI. Everybody calls it artificial intelligence. I call it Anunnaki intelligence. That's what I call it. To me, it's not artificial intelligence. It's Anunnaki intelligence. It is literally the spirit of the Nephilim being brought through, which is basically the demonic realm. And I think CERN knew that. And that's why CERN worked so diligently at opening portals, to find that permanent opening to make these changes to our world, to cause this physical world to collide with the supernatural realm. And that's why everything is happening. Plain and simple. Call it quantum entanglement, call it what you want. But CERN, they had a purpose. And it didn't just start with CERN, no. It started since actually it started back in the days of Constantine, back when the Roman Empire fell, which didn't actually fall. It just went underground. That's all it did. It didn't collapse. It didn't succumb to any other civilization. It didn't become Persia. You know, they talk about how Persian's army was so vast and how the Greeks, and the Spartans especially fought them and all that. If the Persians were so strong, why didn't they conquer Rome if Rome fell? You would think that if Rome had fallen, that they would be under a different form of government or control. Okay? But the fact of the matter is that Rome never fell. It merely went underground and became the Vatican. And I'm sorry, but it's true. It's literally true. Exactly, Bounty. It is the Roman Catholic Church, correct. But a lot of people are confused about the whole black pope and white pope thing. They don't realize that there's actually three popes. Okay, three. The white pope, who is supposed to represent basically the good. And then to his opposite, you have the gray pope, who is supposed to do the bidding of the pope in charge, which is the black pope, who answers only to Baal. Sorry, I just saw an orb. Anyways, just had an orb go through the room. And but yeah, there's a lot to our history that has been dissected and basically manipulated, and we have been told to believe certain things throughout schools and even jobs. I mean, think about the jobs and the economy the way it is. Country Road Cryptids, good to see you. I agree with that. I agree with that, country, completely, 100%. Anybody in the chat that sees what he just wrote, I definitely agree with that. Um, there's just so much going on that we can't ignore the fact that these controlled agencies and three-letter agencies, four-letter agencies, whether it's CERN, whether it's HARP, whether it's NASA, whether it's the CIA, they're all controlled gatekeepers, and they always have been. And they've been different names over history, just different names. And it all leads back to the original time that the Vatican and the first Pope was installed. Literally. So I've gotten back that far in history, okay, to the days of Constantine and all that. I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress, as with anything that I do. But I can tell you for a fact I have been working on it very diligently, tracing bloodlines, and even including certain beings, whether supernatural or cryptic, within that bloodline. Okay, like mermaids, for example. Okay, like reptilians, for example. Okay, so even aliens, Palladians, these guys, the Greys, big part, big role in it. The Archons, I'm telling you, research it, research it. You'll be amazed. There is one last thing I want to say, and that is that people that speak up, they're called whistleblowers. Not all whistleblowers are truth sayers. Keep that in mind. I wouldn't take the word of Lou Elizondo over Mickey Mouse, but that's just my opinion. Once a disinformation officer, always a disinformation officer. Sorry, Lou. I don't believe you. Ghost Dragon, good to see you, man. Yeah, get a hold of me, Ghost Dragon. We got to talk about the podcast and figure out when we're going to do it. Um, we can do it with or without, Gemma, but I prefer to hear her information on the Glimmer Man. So, anyways, that being said, everybody, please share this out. Hit that like button. If you can support the channel, that would be great. Um, I'm probably going to be coming on again tomorrow for a little bit, and I'm going to be selling some of my Bigfoot hats and stuff like that, and other items. Doing it online since I couldn't physically be at the ECBRO event or the one in Sutton, West Virginia. That's this weekend, by the way. If you're there in that area, go to it. It's the fifth one, I believe. And Biker Bigfoot and his lovely bride are going to be wed there. So go out and support him if you're there, if you're in that area. If not, I guess he'll be streaming it. If he's listening, he'll be streaming it. Anyways, let me see what Carl has there. Wait a minute, what's Carl saying here? Just got back. I was cooking shrimp. Cooking shrimp. Funny. Anyways, if you can, support the channel as best as you can. I don't know how much longer I can keep it going, to tell you the truth. I'm going to try. Michelle, if you guys need me on Monstrous Podcast, let me know. Send me a message, and I will definitely get with you all, and we can talk about a little bit of the cryptid stuff and all that, or whatever you guys want to talk about. That being said, Friday night, Into the Red Rabbit Hole, 11 p.m. Eastern, is going to happen. And I believe I'm going to be doing it on the RH negative bloodline. But there's so much to it. It might have to be a 2-part series, guys. There's a lot to it that I'm finding out. So, but with that being said, please support the channel as best as you can. Hammer that like button. Hit that subscribe and share and the bell icon. And I will see everybody Friday night. Like I said, tomorrow night, I might be coming on to do a sale on some of the Bigfoot stuff that I have and cryptid stuff I have. No, I'm not selling the rattle that's up here on the wall, by the way. That is that is a very, very special rattle to me. So it's got the Bigfoot on one side and the dog man on the other. So, and something I made that I'm sure will go to the right person when I'm dead. So it'll go to the right person, guaranteed. Anyways, that being said, thank you all for being here. I want to thank everybody in the chat. You guys have been phenomenal. Thanks for putting up with me this last hour and something. And I'll try to come back on tomorrow night, do a little bit of an auction. Griff, you want a hat? Let me see here. I'll email you the price. No, the price is just going to be, it's not going to be outrageous. Trust me. But I forget what we were selling the hats for. I'll have to look though. I'll get you a discount. That being said, you guys question everything, man. I know I say it till I'm blue in the face, but we have to. We don't want to let these guys win. We don't want to let the shadow government win. Robin, good to see you. I know you missed it, but that's okay. That's okay. You can watch it later. And I will try to see everybody tomorrow night. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody. Take care, guys, okay? Much love and respect to everybody.
In the dead of night, I hear them whisper. Shadows dance on walls, growing crisper. Echoes of the past, they start to rise. Monsters lurking deep beneath the skies. Fear grips my heart. I can't escape. Bump in the night, where the fears collide. Monsters awaken, nowhere to hide. Shadows are calling, they beckon me near. In the dance of the dark, I feel no fear. Moonlight reveals the horrors unseen. Whispers of darkness haunting my dream. Figures that twist in the corners of sight. I shiver alone in the grip of the night. Creatures of shadow